Welcome to Redacted Tonight. This is the show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. It turns out there are some positives to a pandemic. And no, it's not that a lot of people are dying. What do you think I am, Freddy Krueger or Jared Kushner? Fun fact about Jared Kushner, he absorbs the corpses of all of his victims into the tar-like black substance in his retinas. Now, the positive of this pandemic is that the worker power movement is growing. It's getting bigger every day, which means now is the appropriate time to sound like Dr. Frankenstein. It's alive! It's alive! The vacant remedial hacks on your corporate news shows make sure to avoid reporting on the growing worker movements. You know, the Jake Tappers, Anderson Coopers, Blanderson Blitzers, and Donderson Poopers, and that one woman too. But don't go too hard on these hacks, for they know not what they do. They have so much plastic pumped into their cheekbones that it causes their brains to congeal into a nougat substance which mixes well with peanut butter, old Amish recipe. So even though they won't report on it, according to PaydayReport.com, which tracks strikes across the country, so far we've identified over 175 wildcat strikes that happened just since the beginning of March. That's right. Los Angeles McDonald's employees, San Francisco Costco workers, Tracy, California Amazon employees, Pittsburgh sanitation workers. That's right, Pittsburgh once had sanitation. Workers in 50 restaurants across Florida, Chicago Arby's employees, Dallas postal workers, Carlsbad nurses, San Diego transit workers, crack dealers in Cleveland, and black market Beanie Baby salesmen in Biloxi. The workers are fighting back. That's just a small portion of the list of workers who have gone on strike or halted work in order to have their demands met. Over the past 2 months, we have learned something. We have learned that the lowest paid workers in a company are often the most essential, even if they aren't the most celebrated. It's kind of like at a wedding. The bridesmaids and the groomsmen get all kinds of attention, all the pomp and circumstance, but they aren't the most essential. They aren't the essential at all. The guys cooking up the pork chops and then delivering them to your tables are the truly essential workers. Without them, the wedding guests would begin killing and eating the slowest and weakest amongst them within 30 minutes or so. The only thing between civilized society and barbaric, blood-soaked chaos on a cheaply decorated dance floor is an underpaid 18-year-old with a gravy boat. You know it and I know it. Besides the wildcat strikes popping up, many are now calling for a general strike, which seems more feasible now than perhaps ever. As Kevin Zeese and Margaret Flowers wrote for Popular Resistance, the goal is to ensure that those running for office, those in office, and those who make policy, including nonprofits, corporations, and the media, cannot ignore the movement as we demonstrate our ability to make the country ungovernable. Make the country ungovernable until they meet our demands. I mean, I guess we're also already halfway there. We've torn the country into two so-called sides that don't agree on anything, except for the fact that we all love voting against our own interests. So at least we have that in common. But no, according to Popular Resistance, there are two main requirements to kicking off a general strike. One, create national consensus for our demands. And two, involve enough people to be a mass movement that cannot be ignored. So first we have to decide what our demands are. Things like a living wage, safe working conditions, a rent moratorium, health care as a human right, perhaps a cap to the amount CEOs can make. And finally, if you work at McDonald's, you should be allowed to stick your head under the McFlurry machine and pump cookies and cream straight into your upper respiratory system until you have a mid-cardiac arrest. You work all day. You're entitled to at least one mid-cardiac arrest. It's only right. But that second requirement on the general strike list is a little bit harder. Involve enough people that the movement cannot be ignored. One way to do it, as Popular Resistance states, is to build a movement of movements by reaching out to people and organizations who are working on workers' rights, health care, racism, inequality, housing, poverty, and other issues. We need to understand how our issues are connected so that together we fight for all of them. A movement of movements, coming together, working together, getting weird with it, letting the hands wander, making out with each other. Just keep your masks on while you do it. If you choose the 69, you're each going to need a second mask. But just picture a movement of movements. No, seriously, take a second to picture millions from different movements working together to change things. Seriously, close your eyes and picture it. Never mind, open your eyes. If you close them, it hurts our Nielsen ratings. But with your eyes open, imagine all the worker movements coming together and demanding a new world, putting differences aside. It doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter your race or gender or sexual preference. It doesn't matter whether you work in an industry that I personally don't like. Now is the time to appreciate our shared humanity and work as one. Unless you work at a hedge fund, you should probably jump in front of a fucking train and castrate yourself. Not in that order to get them both done. So do the reverse order so you can do both. But it's not only workers striking. People around the world are calling for rent strikes. Cancel the rents. Car caravans have protested in 40 cities. Rents were already way too high to begin with. Even before the coronavirus, the average American could hardly afford the monthly cost of their apartment, even while renting the bedroom out as an Airbnb, posting the attic space on Craigslist, and sharing the rest of the place with a roommate who didn't give their real name, likely because of a murder charge in a neighboring state. That was what remained of the American dream before the pandemic. Now that people don't have jobs, they can't pay the exorbitant rents. And if the Federal Reserve can give trillions of dollars of guaranteed loans to the fat cats at the banks, they can do the same for American citizens. Bail out Main Street, you motherfuckers! Now! I'll wait! Go do it! I'll wait here! Go do it! Now! I'll wait. Well, I won't really wait, because that'd be bad for our Nielsen ratings, but do it anyway. We, the workers of the world, are not going to die for your hallowed, unfettered capitalism, your cherished economic disasterism. We are not the expendables. That was Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren or some shit, all right? We're better than them. So go to paydayreport.com. Learn about the strikes happening around the world and support the striking workers. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast. This is Redacted tonight.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control.